This is a conversation that isn't spoken about, isn't being made aware of in the old paradigm that's rampant at the moment. Have you ever felt like an imposter? Have you ever felt scared about your ability to truly create long-term impact for your clients as a coach? I know I have. What I've found over the last 6 years of working extensively with hundreds of clients as well as mentoring many practitioners and therapists is that there's underpinning blind spots that get in the way of long-term change. And that understanding leads to much more confidence and certainty within ourselves. Now, another question that's interesting to consider that's quite common. Has anybody here ever experienced pain in their body before? Chronic pain? Yeah, it's quite common. And has anybody ever experienced a bit of brain fog, a bit of fatigue in the brain? Yeah? Yeah. So what we've found and what the research shows is that autoimmune diseases have gone up by 400% over the last 5 decades. And science and studies have also shown that anxiety and depression have been linked at times to inflammation in the brain. And this is a conversation that isn't spoken about. This is a conversation that isn't being made aware of in the old paradigm that's rampant at the moment. In my book, Don't Just Fix Your Thinking, I speak about a new paradigm. A new paradigm where we consider the importance of mindset and the value of that, but where we also consider that we have a brain, we have a body. These things fundamentally underpin our experience of life. So I'd like to share a little bit about myself as to where inflammation came into my life. It wasn't the most pleasant experience. But growing up, I was very nervous, very shy. I would have a red face, my palms would be sweating, my heart would be racing. And like many Australians and many people around the world, one day I tried alcohol and finally the feeling was gone. A sense of peace. Has anybody ever felt that before from alcohol? Yeah, yeah. And I continued chasing that feeling. I continued chasing that feeling of peace, that feeling of significance that the bottle would give me. And I moved into the fitness industry because I love sharing exercise, but what comes up must go down. Eventually, through chronic stress, alcohol, drugs, I developed an autoimmune disease. I was crippled. I remember days at home where I would wake up in the morning, jumping out of bed, and I would struggle, hobbling through my room, feeling helpless, hopeless. I remember there was one pivotal moment where I sat down face to face with a rheumatologist after bouncing around the medical merry-go-round. I had seen sleep specialists, traditional dietitians, some chiropractors, etc. And I sat down with the rheumatologist, and this is what happened. He slid across the desk my results. Inflammatory arthritis, the deterioration in my spine, my bones. And then the next part really was the rock bottom. He handed the script pad across the table and handed it to me saying, "This is our way to treat it." And something inside of me woke up. Something inside of me was shouting that there has to be a better way, and I found and searched for answers. Where is the answer to this? Who out there is curing autoimmune disease? Who out there is going into remission? Started my discovery into natural medicine, functional medicine, integrative nutrition. And along that subsequent journey, I was working with clients as a coach, as a clinical hypnotherapist, and as a psychotherapist. So I was working with the mind. But I started to create changes in my body, in my inflammation, eating in ways that most people would say are very unusual, which I've shared with some of you here already. And this was against everything that I had been trained in as to how we're meant to eat and live to be well. And as I started implementing this, My neuroticisms, my social anxiety, my fatigue, my chronic pain of 15 years was no longer there. And I wanted to share this with the world because I fundamentally believe in a new paradigm in the world. I fundamentally believe in the elimination of unnecessary mental illness and chronic disease for the planet. That's what I stand for. And in the new paradigm method, 3 tips that you can consider today to take away with you is: number 1, test before you guess. I've had clients facing me where it looks like, oh, they've just got thinking which can be appropriate. We would test and then uncover, making the invisible visible, the intangible tangible. The second element to consider with the client is to ask, what are you eating? And to really challenge that, because one man's food is another man's poison. If our brain is inflamed, if you don't work right, brain's not working right, you won't work right. One of my favorite teachers, he quotes that we don't have mental illness, we have broken brains. And a broken brain is a breakdown of the physiology of the body. And the third element to consider is the health of the brain. Prioritize it, look at it, and educate it. So with that, it's an honor to speak to you today, and I'd love to have you on the journey in the New Paradigm Institute. Thank you all.